Have you considered becoming an author? Do you want to write books, tell stories, and try to make a living with your published works? Today I'm going to talk about the truth about being an author. Happy New Year, everybody. My name's Levi Samuel, and we'll get right to it. Back in November, I did a series of videos, my first videos actually. I wanted to try to give you guys the literal step-by-step walkthrough to creating a book. But the trouble is, there's so much of it that's just sitting in the chair and typing away. A lot of it comes from experience. It takes time to develop that experience. Not everybody's got that. I'm a far better writer now than I ever was back when I started. And even back when I started, I was ignorant. I thought that I pretty much knew everything. My first book, I remember thinking that it was just so fantastic. Well, then once I learned what I was doing, I went back and reread that first book, and it was horrible. Almost every author that I know has the exact same experience. If you're thinking about becoming an author in 2021, I would really like to just give you a few of the cold, hard facts about this career path. There's a lot of pros and cons. I've written down a few of them. I'm not going to really go into a whole lot of detail because I don't want this video to just be filled with fluff, but I do want to give you an idea as to what you're going to get into. So to begin, let's start with what I like about being an author. First off, it's awesome. I love the ability to create things. I love the fact that I'm my own boss within reason. You know, obviously, if I'm writing something that nobody wants to read, I'm not going to get very far. Sadly, even whenever I do write stuff that I want or that people want to read, I still don't get very far, but that's a marketing issue. We'll get into that with the cons. One of the other things that I like about it is I'm leaving a legacy. At the point in time when I'm gone, my published works are still going to be there. And even if people in my lifetime don't find them, my books, in addition to my daughter, are my legacy. By writing them, I am leaving a piece of myself behind. Every book's got a part of me in it. It's got part of the way that I think about things, the questions of the universe that I've asked, my little epiphanies. I work through them a lot of times with my work, and a lot of what I believe and what I feel is in my books. You see in a lot of movies, there's a little disclaimer that the views and opinions in this feature, blah, blah, blah. Whether that's the case or not, a lot of the times, if I wrote the book, I am putting my perspective on it. Not always. Sometimes I just have to make characters to fit the story. But for the most part, I try to give something to what I'm doing. Another thing that I love about being an author is the fact that I get to impact people. The people that love reading my work, they're impacted by it. They're moved. They enjoy the escapism that I provide. And really, that's what it's all about. I've been escaping life since forever. As long as I can remember making my own decisions, I've been doing what I can to escape. And whether that's participating in a LARP group, whether it's playing Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's reading books, whether it's watching movies and TV shows, it doesn't really matter what it is. I've been escaping the majority of my life just because we live in a kind of a crappy time. We're too late to explore the world, and we're too early for space travel. So what is there left? We deal with what we've got and just get through it the best we can. Another part is I love creating things. This part's kind of a wide spectrum. It doesn't really matter what it is. I like books. I like building motorcycles. I like firing up the forge and building weapons or crafting armors, or it doesn't matter what I am a creator. I create things. And then one of the last things is it's kind of a God complex. As an author, you are building worlds, you're building characters, you're creating things. You are the creator. You decide what happens. And like humans, a lot of times the characters seem to have their own free will. They don't always do what we want them to do. Now, yes, we have the ability to go back and rewrite and change what they've done, but a lot of times it's fun just to let them do their own thing and see what happens. There is a bit of a God complex when it comes to being an author. It's just part of it. Those are just a few of the things that I love about this career. I didn't even mention going to conventions and meeting fans and the times whenever you're out in the wild and somebody that knows who you are or has read your work stumbles upon you. That's always a weird thing, by the way, and I never get used to it. It does happen, even to me. Now, a few of the cons. First and foremost, the long hours. Sometimes I work overnight for days on end. I work all the time. Even when I'm relaxing or when I'm supposed to be relaxing, I'm still trying to find some way to either better my craft in my ability with what I'm doing, or to expedite my production, or to figure out a way to get my stuff in people's hands a little better. I'm always working on something. That can be exhausting. It can leave you feeling stretched. Really, you have to figure out a schedule and get yourself where you need to be in order to get things done. Otherwise, you're going to run for so long and then you're going to burn out and not be able to do anything for a while. So you have to learn to pace yourself. Another thing that kind of sucks about being an author, not necessarily when you become a bigger name, but when you're in my position, when you're relatively unknown. My platform, I've got a collective total of maybe 1,000 people. And that's not much. It's more than a lot of people, but it's not much. And with that collective total, there's very little recognition. Maybe that will come in time. There's really no telling in that. It's a thankless job. You spend hours in the chair building your empire. It's really hard to go through all of that effort, and nobody really knows what you've gone through. Most of the time, you are not in the spotlight doing this job, so you're not going to be recognized for the effort you put forth. The only thing people are ever going to see is the end result. And hopefully that end result will yield a result that you want, or a result that is worthy of the time that you've put into it. I can tell you, for me, thus far, it really hasn't happened. I've written 23 books now. I've published 16. It still hasn't happened. I've been doing this over 10 years. It's very difficult to keep going when you don't know what's going to come next. But you have to keep going. You have to keep writing. You have to keep producing. By doing this, you're going to improve. You're going to eventually get somewhere, but there's no magic bullet. There's no way to say when that's going to happen. Kind of going hand in hand with a little recognition. As an unknown, there's really little money in this job. My first published gig, I made very little money. I went 3 years and I made maybe $10. That's not very much money to live on. Now, that jumped up quite a bit whenever I learned how to be an indie publisher and I branched out and went my own way. That money, it grew quite a bit, but it's still far from desired. It's still far from being able to live a comfortable life without ever worrying about money. That has not happened, and honestly, for most of us, that's not going to happen. I study the market all the time. There is money out there. The trouble is, how do you find the people that have it? How do you get your book into their hands? And how do you get them to talk to their friends about it? Well, the truth of that is you have to understand marketing through and through. You have to study it all the time. You have to figure out what's going on. And honestly, once you've gotten there, it's much easier, because once you get there, everything you put out, those people are going to hit it again. But the trouble is getting there first. That's the hard part. And you have to really power through that. I've been doing this for over 10 years and I'm still trying to power through it, but I love what I do. The other part is stress. I don't stress typically physically. I get the stress headaches occasionally, but I don't my muscles don't tense up because of it. I don't really do a whole lot of the physical stressing. I do stress about how to get my stuff in people's hands. How do I spend all of this time making these things if nobody's going to read them? And I say nobody. People do read them, and I appreciate the people that do. They're fantastic. I enjoy the fans that I have. I appreciate what they have done for my career thus far. And I don't want those people to feel like I don't care about any contributions they've made. They've really been there for a long time, and it's extremely nice to have such people behind me. The trouble is there's simply not enough of them. I just don't have enough people helping me. And that's really all it boils down to. So as an author, if you're going to jump on this, I strongly recommend try to find a team of people that can help you. And that's, the writing, really that's on you. Try to find a team of people that are going to beta read your books and leave you reviews and talk about it with their friends. That's probably the biggest thing I'm missing. I have a very select few who are willing to talk about my stuff to other people. And that's probably my biggest detriment is I don't have that team of people to help push me over the edge. That's something that every author, honestly, we need. Superfans, as they're called. They review the books, they talk about it, they get engaged. As an unknown, you really don't have that. You have to build that. And that's one of the things, every time I've tried to build it, it's kind of fallen apart. Maybe that's my shortcoming as a team leader. I don't like to delegate. I don't like to stand over shoulders. I prefer just to tell people what needs to happen and expect that it gets done. And I do that because that's the way I work. If somebody needs me to do something, they tell me what it is, they tell me when they need it by, and I do everything to make it happen. They never have to check on me, they never have to do any of that. And that's just because that's the type of person I am, and not everybody is like me. To have a successful street team or marketing team or any of that, you really have to figure out how people work, and a lot of people need to be constantly reminded. They need to have somebody staying on top of them. It's really a big difference between an entrepreneur and somebody who works for other people. Most people can't handle the self-employment thing, and it's simply because they need somebody to tell them what to do. There are always things that we have to overcome. Right now, I write books. I do my first several editing passes before I send it off to my other editors. I learned how to be a cover artist because I couldn't find a reliable cover artist. But in addition to that, I'm doing 3D animations, and I'm trying to learn how to do short videos, not only for YouTube, but book trailer type of thing, only like cinematic, action-packed movie trailer, because people are very visual. That's one of the main reasons I started this YouTube channel, is people are so visual. By being able to branch into that visual aspect, it's really going to aid me in the long run. Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough about this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and if you would, check out my author page at levisamuel.com. All of my books are listed there. I've even got a couple free books on there. Check me out. See what's going on. If you like my stuff, leave a review. A book that has little to no reviews is just going to be overlooked by most people. Once you start getting reviews rolling in, then you're really going to step up your game as an author. Even getting a BookBub ad, you can't do that until you have at least 100 reviews. But anyway, I'm going to get off of here. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.